continue that later. Hey, Shuwaski, I got you now, huh?
You got me. Can you hear me very well?
Yes, sir, we got you. All right, so when you and I last spoke, you touched a little bit on some of the concerns you had about the status of the Democrat Party in the state of Mississippi. And since then, you have compiled a list, I believe, of things you would like to see the party take on and address that you think are critical just to the overall viability and future success of the party. Tell us about that.
Well, look, again, thank you so very much for having me back on SuperTalk Mississippi. You're right. You know, we have seen some successes over the past years, but not at the level that we need to here in Mississippi. And looking at the fact that Mississippi just had the lowest voter turnout in the entire country at about 32%, that's inexcusable on our half. Now, we saw Republicans actually lead 3 out of 4 congressional districts at about 70% of the vote. And we know that our folks are not turning out. And that's because we're not engaging voters the way that we need to. We're not organized the way that we need to. And we have to be able to change that in the future. So in an effort to offer some suggestions to folks here in Mississippi, we put together a list of about 10 steps. Now, this is not an end-all, be-all type of approach, but these are immediate impact changes that I've talked to folks about and have a very good perspective on what we need to be doing going forward.
Okay. So one of the things you indicate is empower, this is the top of your list, empower, trust, and invite minority groups to the Democrat Party table and produce voter engagement materials in their respective languages. So you're obviously incorporating maybe people that are eligible to vote in our state that perhaps don't speak English as their first language. Is that true?
Look, this is what we're seeing around the United States, and you're exactly right. Raising Hispanic community in our particular state that's growing, that's contributing to our economy, and want to be part of the process. And if we're going to be expecting those to actually be participants in the democratic process for voting for Democrats, we have to meet them where they are, just like other states do. And that's why I'm saying we need to be able to produce these voter materials in Spanish. Folks that are part of the other communities as well in our state, we have to be able to speak to them in the language that they're going to best understand.
Gotcha. And so something else that you talk about is engaging and empowering, including the LGBTQ community. What do you think about that?
Well, look, you know, it's not a known fact or unknown fact that the Democratic Party has been standing up for LGBTQIA plus rights throughout the entire United States. But yet, you know, I think we just added one person on our state executive committee this week that is part of the actual community. So it's great that they have a seat at the table. But we need to be able to reach out to folks in the entire LGBT community throughout the state of Mississippi to let them know that we do represent their interests and want to hear their voices, especially if we're going to be expecting their votes. That's the same thing that we're going to be doing in the African American community to make sure that folks understand that we care deeply about the African American community. It is the base of our party, but we have to speak to the needs of the African American community, just like the LGBT community as well.
Have you shared your ideas, Shuwaski, with the party leaders in the state?
Well, look, you know, I'm in constant contact with Democrats all over the particular state. One of the things that I'm seeing is that particular group right now has a lot of work to do. You know, my best interest is being able to act as a citizen, now private citizen within the party, and also offer these particular measures as something they can actually take heed to. Now, I will be meeting with other party leaders throughout the state in the days and weeks to come. But I think that we can get their attention so we can change the perspective both internally and also externally in the party. Sometimes people need to put perspectives first, and without actually having the pressure to do so, oftentimes they're not going to do it.
Yeah, gotcha. Something else you said was amend the race gender leadership requirement, unilateral subcommittee control, and other outdated clauses within the state party constitution. What do you mean by that? Explain that.
Sure. Well, our state party constitution was one of which is backdated from the 1980s. And basically the way that it actually is right now, the person who is a chairperson of that party, whether they're black, white, are male or female, the vice chair and other party members must, but specifically the vice chair, must be someone who is of an opposite gender and an opposite race. I think that is outdated language. I don't think that speaks to the opportunity that we have for the diversity of leadership that we have in the state as a whole. And I think it limits us. And I think it also is not representative of the democratic process as a whole. We got to be able to take race out of the conversation to be able to move forward.
That's interesting. So I didn't even know that existed. And when did you say that that Constitution, that provision was included in the party's Constitution in the 80s?
I think about 1980.
Wow. That's interesting.
Shocking.
So, yeah. Yeah, that's almost like affirmative action for leadership.
Well, there's a long history of change in our Democratic Party as a whole within the state. I understand that. But look, it's 2022. We're moving forward. We need to be able to ensure that our rules and also our Constitution reflects where we are today. And that's why I spoke to that particular point. And of course, when you have all these subcommittees that have unilateral control over different segments of what the Democratic Party is actually doing, it doesn't matter who that chairperson is at that particular point. If those particular people on those subcommittees aren't doing their job and aren't making sure that we're moving forward with policies that are going to be effective. So overall, what this particular point plan does is make sure that our voices are being heard within the party, that our voices are being heard across the actual state, and take some of the red tape out of how we can actually get things done. Now, look, I'll be honest with you. There are a lot of folks within the party that particularly don't like the fact that I'm speaking out about this particular issue. And that's okay, because my perspective is if the shoe doesn't fit, don't worry. Don't worry. We're not talking about you. We're talking about the folks that have been in office in these particular positions on the state executive committee for years and years and years, decades, who have not been doing anything for their specific job. There are a lot of great folks on the state executive committee, some of the folks over across the state, but we're not referring to those folks. We're talking about the majority of folks that sit on that committee that are not actually doing their job to make sure Democrats are actually getting elected and turning out the vote. And I don't think that anybody can argue with the fact that we are not winning at a statewide level. We're not winning at a local level. And I think at a district level, I think that it's proven that they have been ineffective and that we need to be able to have change. And there are a lot of great groups out there throughout Mississippi that are part of the democratic process, but they give their money to the national party or they go off in splinter groups because they don't trust what's actually happening within the state party. Now, again, those folks that are within the Mississippi Democratic Party State Executive Committee that don't apply to the language that has been put forth, hey, don't be offended. The shoe doesn't fit. Don't worry. But I have received numerous emails and also text messages and phone calls regarding this 10-point plan as it's been put out that people agree with it. Now, of course, I'm sure some may not, and that's okay.
And you've heard that from national party leaders, the national party organization as well? They're aware of your points here?
I haven't spoken with the national party in regards to my position.
Okay. Because one of the things I think you said, if I'm not mistaken, is that you'd like to see alignment of the national, state, and local level. Just about 30 seconds left. What do you think about that? Is that an issue?
Well, look, our party at a national level is putting out messaging that aligns with what the democratic values of our party are throughout the country. What we did not see in the past 2020 election and what we haven't seen before is an active effort to get out there and talk about the issues that matter to people and actually stand up for the party beliefs that we actually believe in. There's been a reluctancy in that particular matter. That's not how politics actually works. So I like to be able to see the state party move forward in an aggressive manner to make sure we're pulling folks into the party where we can become competitive. Because if we don't, look, you're seeing folks jump over to the Republican ticket as we speak. And that can't continue to happen if we're going to actually win.
Gotcha. Shuwaski, thanks for coming on and sharing your ideas there, and good luck to you, man. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks so much for having me back.
You got it. Shuwaski Young, former candidate for the Mississippi 3rd Congressional District.